Um,
All right, welcome everyone. My name is Joe Martinez. This is our Thursday morning production call. I'm with y'all. Can I sound like a broadcaster? I'm over here in Southern California today, and I'd say it's sunny, but it's a little gloomy. So I don't know. Everywhere I travel this month, it's been gloomy. Rain and clouds follow me around. Daryl, I'm just looking for some sunshine. Can I get some sunshine? Only in Arizona. I'm just saying. Just saying. A lot of sunshine
On
there.
the East Coast, Joe. No sunshine over here, buddy.
um, we got a great one lined up for y'all today. Again, where we get, what are we going to train on is from agents that were, from ourselves, right? The agents running appointments where we're struggling this week. So we asked around. A lot of agents came back with, "Hey, let's talk about the FIF in the appointment." Right. And I want to be clear, we're going to talk about the difference between the two, right? I know we hear the word FIF reset a lot, but there is an FIF inside of the appointment. We're gonna really dig into that. And then kind of ties to it, not kind of, it's tied to it, which is the power questions, right? And power questions, if y'all really haven't heard what we do, or a great analogy of it is, so it's called emotional labor. So write that down. Right, in SoundCloud audio, there's a recording called emotional labor, and it really breaks down what we do and how we get paid. Right, because we don't do physical work. Right, the physical labor, we do emotional labor, and the more emotional questions or the stronger emotional questions you can ask, you're going to get paid more because you're creating more impact in the home. So I always love to talk about, right? This is an hour-long call. I want to make sure everyone gets the most value out of it. So I suggest you please get somewhere where you can get a pen and notepad out. Again, we take notes on what we're training on because it's stuff that's going to help us in the appointment, right? We think sometimes we're doing everything we can. And because we focused on locking it down last week, right? We stopped asking emotional questions. Because we started asking emotional questions this week, we forget to start tying it down like we used to, right? So it's just an ongoing, always getting better. So please take lots of notes. What we always love to say, right, is anything you hear today, it's going to be a lot of information. Do not go and change your entire appointment. You've been helping families already. We don't need you to go revamp your entire appointment. What we want you to do is take some really good notes and then pick up to 3 things, no more than 3 things, right? 1 to 3 things, and then go intentionally apply it into your appointment or your dial session, right? That's how you get better, right? Like if you listen to something today and you're like, "Hey, you know what? I don't do that." Just start implementing that, right? Because it's hard to start changing or doing something a little different than you have been. So to say you're going to go change your entire appointment is crazy. Just grab a couple of nuggets and then go apply them to your appointment. I promise you, if you do that every single week, every single SoundCloud that you listen to, you will 100% get better really, really fast. So we're going to get started. Oh, and then one thing too, if any of those nuggets help you and you're like, "Hey, you know what? I did that and I applied it in my appointment. And look, I wrote some applications because of that, or I helped the family." If y'all can post that on Band, we do work as a huge community in the Cook hierarchy. So it definitely helps, right? Another agent can see that, take that idea, right, and go apply it to their appointment. So that's how we all work together. That's what y'all can do to help us, right, train more agents. So we're going to get started. Again, right, we're going to start with the FIF reset, or the FIF in the appointment. So take some notes on this, right? One, there's 2 FIFs that you're going to hear through your career here in Symmetry, right? I want to take the first one off the table, right? That's the FIF reset, right? That's when you've uncovered something, right, that we can send to a SME, right, to the agent that's going to be a subject matter expert, right? And it is very tied to the FIF inside the appointment, but I want to make sure we talk about that they're 2 different things, right? So the FIF reset is something that's an actionable step that you did from information inside your appointment that you send to someone else to help that family. Okay, that basically you pass it off to the next agent. The FIF that we're talking about today is the financial information form. Okay, so that's where we gather the information, right, to see. And here, this is the big kicker: to see if they even need mortgage protection, right? This is where we find out, do they need it? Do they not? Right. And then the kicker is, do I need to reset them? This is where you find that information. So I'll love to kind of dig into this. There's a couple places y'all can find this. And Amber, I don't know if you have sharing capabilities,
Yep.
but maybe you can share, right? Go into HQ and right. So there's an FIF reset. You can use this as a guide in your appointment. You can share your screen. But this is where you gather the information from the client, right? And basically, again, right, this is where we're going to start asking the financial questions of, hey, this is the information I need to be asking you right now so that I can make sure I can do a really good assessment if you need the coverage or not. So show them where this is at.
Yeah, so if you're in HQ, you'll go here to the left to Sales Tools. You'll go to FIF and Resets. You'll either click this at the top or scroll down to FIF. Hit View FIF. You can look up your client. Let me see, one of my clients I just sat with.
And then this is what you want to go into your appointment prep with. So you can already have this pulled up, right? So that when you're jumping into the appointment, you already have this lead pulled up.
Yeah. And it's helpful to have, right, their mortgage info already put in here, right? So however many terms, the loan amount, their monthly payment. And then from there, when you're in the appointment, as you go through, you can add different expenses, right? So let's say it does a car and they pay $700. Oh, not $7,800. Good grief. Utilities, let's say about $500. Other expenses, let's just throw, say there's another $1,000 in other expenses, right? And you can go through the list and choose whatever they have for your expenses. And then
and that's a great guide, right? Of, hey, I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Well, guess what? There's a tool like this one that you can use to say, hey, look, it's going to help you make sure you don't miss anything, right? Because it's asking all the questions for you in here.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And if they're making any overpayment,
cooler.
If they're making any overpayments, like on their car, you can check yes, overpayment. Then you get to assets, right? It gives you a similar list: 401ks, 403bs, annuities, investments, IRAs, pensions, everything here, right? And then you get to ask them their current value. Are they currently contributing? If they are, what's their contribution compared to their employers? So let's say the current value is 100,000. They are currently contributing and they do, say, $200 a month. Your employer matches at a 10%. Actually, let's just say they do an even match, whatever. Easy math, right? And
what I love about this, right, is y'all can all go into these and pull up any one of your leads and just start, again, practice, right? Like get familiar with this, because there's some cool math that's going to happen here that I love to use this, especially as a new agent. There's a lot of power here, right? Because one, it starts to uncover, for me, go back to the assets, right? The one that I never, ever miss, like she already knows, is savings, right? Like I'm going to ask them, what's in your savings account, right? And that's one of the most uncomfortable questions to ask, but it is worth it. And we're going to go over why. So let's just say they got, yeah, I wish that's what they had. So let's say 1,500. That's 1,500 is a pretty average number that I hear. So they got $1,500 in their savings account because they just bought a home, they bought furniture, they put their deposit down right on the home. And let's keep going. Let's go into right any life insurance. Love to ask this. Don't be afraid of this question. Again, right? We've always taught on this, right? If they have life insurance, guess what they believe in? Insurance, right? Like you have a higher probability of getting a policy in place if they already have something in place, and it's pretty common. Most folks don't have a lot. They got 100,000, 50,000, 10,000 through work, whatever it may be. But there is a ton of power in making sure that they do have a policy in place. And then you get to name that puppy, right? What did you get it for? Why do you have it in place? What's just something from work, right? So it's only 10 grand, Joe, right? I'm like, sweet. So it sounds like it's probably just going to cover burial costs. Yep. Getting them to say that takes this policy off the table of they're going to tell me they're going to use it for mortgage protection, because they just told me, yeah, it's only enough to cover burial costs, right? My favorite part here is entering this income, right? We've entered bills and stuff, but now it's time to enter income, right? So, and usually it's two income household, right? So the first person, let's just say, is making, I don't know, $3,000 a month, and then the next person's only making 1,000, right? Let's just say the wife is making 1,000. What I love about this is look at the calculator on the right, right? And as you scroll down, right, like you see if they have enough for their expenses or not. So let's give them some more income. Looks like we need some more income to make it a little more realistic. Let's give the husband a little bit more. Let's give him $5,000. Sweet, right? So after everything's right, after all the income and expenses, right, I get to say, hey, John, Mary, looks like right after all the bills and everything said and done, we got about 2,200 left over, right? Because y'all got about 6,500 coming in. So does that sound about right? And then if you're sharing your screen, there's a ton of power in this little trick right here. So looks like, right, John, about 2,200 left over in disposable income, right? They're like, yep, that sounds about right. I'm like, sweet. And then y'all said y'all have 1,500 in your bank account, right? That sound about right? And they're like, yes. I'm like, so basically, if both of y'all's income stopped right now, with all your bills and expenses, doesn't look like there's enough in the bank account to even make a month. Is that right? And they're like, yeah, that's about right. And then, so John, look at my screen here, right? I let's say, God forbid, John, you're gone tomorrow, your income stops, right? You see how I took that off, right? What Mary's bringing in, that 1,500, looks like she doesn't have enough to cover. And then I get quiet. And this is my own coaching point right here, because I want to answer for them so bad. So that I have to stop myself from saying, does that look right? Is that true? Do you agree? I'm just like, do y'all see what I see? And they're like, ooh, right? And I have to get quiet, and they'll say, yeah, it looks like, damn, Joe, like there's not much. And I'm like, okay, sweet. So it looks like she can't do that. I agree with y'all. And then remember the 1,500. So looks like she can't even make a month. Do y'all have something in place that can help with that? And then I have to shut up. Right. And it's so hard for me, Amber, still to this day, because I want to answer, because it's so obvious, right? It's an obvious question, but the power is in asking them, like, so is there anything in place? And then just be quiet.
That's my favorite question to ask them. Like, what do you guys have in place that would help her be able to keep the home?
Yep. And then, right, then there's the follow-up question, right? Well, John, how does that make you feel? Right. And here's the crazy part. Sometimes they answer something crazy, whatever it may be. Or sometimes they're like, Joe, well, that's why we're talking to you. I'm like, sweet. Sounds like we should put something in place. Yes, let's look at those options, Joe. That's why we're here on the appointment, right? If I don't get those kind of answers, I'm digging deeper, right? Because now I'm going, Mary, have y'all talked about this before? Well, no. Well, how does this make you feel looking at this? And then I'm quiet. And it is the most uncomfortable question, right? Because it's obvious, right? She's not in a good spot, right? And it's just weird, right? But we get paid asking very emotional questions. And James, Amber, right? Nate, and whoever, I mean, anything y'all want to add to here of how we use this, right? I write this down, right? Because I've done this for a long time. But as a new agent, I highly, highly suggest use this tool, right? Because I make them write it down. So when I'm running my appointment, I'm making them write this stuff down, like in the real script. And I'm telling them, right, like, so what, y'all are looking at the same thing I'm looking at. And they're like, whoa. They're like, yeah, it's not pretty, Joe. But anything y'all want to add there?
I just think that, like, there's power behind being quiet, right? Because we want to break the awkward silence. And then while you're quiet, don't be staring into their soul. Because that's just weird. Yeah, that's what I would say, right? And it's gonna feel a little bit uncomfortable. What I'll do is, like, I do the same thing. I have them write it down, have my paper, and I'll just be like staring at it, and I'll look up every once in a while if they haven't answered yet.
Yeah, 100%. Right. Does anyone, and then does that everyone, right? I want to make sure this is super interactive, right? If y'all haven't seen that, does, any questions on there, asking questions, right? Life insurance, savings account. And then this is where you uncover the assets, right, for an FIF reset, right? So guess what? Inside the FIF in the appointment, that's where you uncover, hey, should I do a reset? Right. And it's super easy, right? You ask it, it's going to say, yes, you should. Then you go to our website, right? Make sure you don't do it through here. Make sure you go to fifreset.com, right? So that you can go and plug it into your organization, right? That way it goes to whoever it needs to. But that's where you uncover, right? Do you have a 401k? How much money's in your 401k? Right? Do you have a money market account? Right? Let's go back to those assets, right? And again, it prompts you. Right? Do you have a 403? Like you can literally just go down this list and ask them, do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have this? Do you have an annuity, a CD, any investments? Right? Do you have a pension, savings, anything else out there? Like there's so much power in this tool so that you don't miss any of these things, right? Because have you ever wondered, like, man, I see everyone, right? Michael Mushin just wrote a $2.5 million annuity, but how do I find it? This is where you find it. Right? Because you ask these questions, right? And here's the really cool part about if you're nervous and you're a brand new agent and you're nervous about asking these questions and you're sharing your screen, guess what? Sharing your screen, you are no longer asking questions. You're just filling out a form. Right? So that way you don't feel nervous. I'm like, well, John, are you looking with me, right? Do we have any 401ks? Yes. Do we have a 403b? Okay, great. How about a 457? I don't even know what that is, John, but do you have one? Well, no. Okay, great, good, because I didn't know what that was. An annuity. Do you have a CD? Do you have any investments? Do you have an IRA? Do you have a pension? Right? Do you have a savings account? Anything else out there that you can think? And I love this question when you get to other. Is there anything else out there that if you passed away, it would be a benefit to, right, to marry? And a lot of times, even though you've gone down this list, all of a sudden they pull something out of this list because now they're proud of it. Because you're the way you ask that question, right? So I'm going to ask that question again. Hey, so John, you pass away. Is there anything else out there that Mary would inherit, right, to leave her in a good spot? Right? I'm not asking a money question. I'm asking a proud, right, question of, hey, I've been doing this for my life to make sure Mary's set up. Right. So there's a lot of power in asking it that way. Is there anything else in place that Mary would inherit if you were to pass away? All of a sudden they have another annuity that they didn't talk about, or a money market account that I've already asked, right? And all of a sudden they have it because the way we ask that question, right? Is there anything, John, that Mary would inherit if you were to pass away? So I hope y'all wrote that question down. And again, anyone else want to add anything here? And again, any new agent, everybody understand how to get here, how to pull it up? Feel free to unmute and ask.
Can you show again exactly where you found that? I'm sorry. Go back to the beginning. It
Yeah.
went really fast and I was interested in that.
Yeah, so if you're in HQ and you're in your dashboard, you'll just go to Sales Tools here on the left. You go to FIF and Resets, and you can either click Financial Information Form here at the top, or you can just scroll down and click View FIF here.
And it's cool. Any lead that is in your system, you can put it there, or you can pull it up, right? It'll pull it up from your system. And then I love it. You know what? We do a lot of referrals, and any warm market, click on Add New Referral Lead, and you can create them from there as well, right? So if there's someone that's not in your system, friend, family, right? Because we are pushing on that as well. You can come in here and create the lead so that you can have this available for them. It's super cool. Great question. Anyone else before we move on?
No, I just want to add, just if, especially for new agents that, don't know what to ask for, especially, I don't know what to find out when we're finding out the FIF reset. I'm missing bills, or I'm trying to not get the full app. This literally takes all the work for you as well. And then, like when Joe said, he goes, this will uncover stuff where, like, well, what else do you have that's gonna leave your family? This is where they come up. Hey, I got 20,000 in the bank that they'll take over. I have money in the bank, and be like, okay, but how much do we have in there? And this will uncover them because now they want to say that they're proud and like, hey, I got this. So this will unlock it as well. One of the big ones too is like, are they sending extra payments, to the mortgage? The biggest one, the easiest one that a lot of people do is credit card ones if y'all don't, and then how much extra y'all sending to, because you could reinvert that, change where they're sending that credit cards. Like, hey, I'm sending about $300 to $500 in credit cards a month, but the payments are only like $100 or $50. And that's really a good way to find and uncover one to do like a DFL or IUL for them to get them out of debt and help them out. So those are probably some of the most easiest ones. And then if they have money saved in the bank or a old 401k, good ones I like to start off with in the beginning of the appointment too, or just asking throughout, just like, what are you working at, how long you've been in that job, and what you do before that, and how long were you in that job? Because if you find out they had a previous job as well, I'm like, hey, do you have an old 401k on that? And you could bring that up as well. And that might help out a lot to uncover more FIFs.
Oh yeah, 100% more FIF. So again, that's why it's called the financial information, and that's why, right, the FIF is an FIF reset, right? So and again, I love to talk about scripts and following the process, right, of having the highest probability of helping a family, right? It's if you're not doing this FIF part, the FIF form, right? You may not do it off of this. Again, I do it off of paper, but I do have this memorized now, right, after 7 years, right? If you don't, make sure you're asking all these questions or have it pulled up. But if you're not doing this, you are not running an appointment, right? Like this is in the real script. So just realize that, right? Like we talked about coaching culture. It isn't, yeah, I love it. Thank you. Right? Like this is in the real script. If you are not doing that, you're not following script. And that's a huge, huge hole in your game. Right. So just right. I always love to humble myself down. And whenever I'm not finding success, I start analyzing my appointment. Am I hitting as many things as possible? Because this is huge. Why it's so huge, the FIF is think of this as, so one, we don't sell insurance. We're really consultant. The sale was made when the client received the paper, right? The postcard, the letter. If they saw the ad, right? They saw it and they responded. That's when the sale was made. Our job is to be a consultant, right? And analyze their situation. How do we do that, right? It's like when you go to a doctor, imagine just walking into the doctor and you're like, oh, my stomach hurts, right? Or my elbow hurts. And you're like, great, here, take these pills. And he didn't even check you out, right? Like he's got to do something, right? And check you out. This is how you check your client, right? Like, let me understand your situation, because guess what? Sometimes they don't need mortgage protection, and that's perfectly fine, right? I run into appointments where the husband and the wife make the same amount of money. They both clear all their bills by $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 a month, right? They have things in place. They have other large life insurance policies. They have, right, whatever it may be. And guess what? They don't need mortgage protection. Mortgage protection is only to protect the family. If somebody passes away, the family member is in danger of losing the house, right? That's it's a concept, right? Now the cool part is I'm covering all this stuff and finding all these assets. Like, hey, we probably need a FIF reset you, right? Or hey, maybe you just need a large life insurance policy, right? There's so many other ways we can help them other than mortgage protection. But the reality is some clients don't need it. Now, here's the cool part. About 98% of your clients don't have anything in place or have very little in their bank account that they absolutely need this. And just remember, not everyone's going to say yes. Some are not going to find the value. Some are not going to like the price, right? But you just make sure you did the best job possible of doing this. And then that way, you should have this feeling, and you can stop sharing now, Amber, right? But you should have the feeling of, when you get off your appointment, you should be blown away. You should be like, holy cow. Do they not see what we saw, Daryl? Like, I don't understand how he's going to sleep at night knowing Mary has nothing in place tomorrow if he's gone. None of his pension moves over. They only had 1,500 in the bank account. It takes 4,000 to stay inside the house, right? And literally, she won't make it a month. And guess what? They're still going to tell you no. But let me tell you, I'll sleep good at night, right? I did my best job. I showed them. I painted the picture. I asked the questions. How does that make you feel? And he's like, you know what, Joe? She's just going to have to figure it out. Great. Hey, sounds like, John, it's not a concern. If Mary can't afford a month's worth of, right, of the house, if you pass away tomorrow, he goes, yeah, I just don't. Okay, great. Yeah, that's all I do. I just go over that for you and I move on, right? I don't even get to prices. I don't even have to show them options. He doesn't care, right? And that's when that's how you know you should move on to options. Because if you do that properly, let me tell you, most of the time, it's like, oh my God, no, Joe, yes. Like, can you show me something? You know, we don't have much, Joe, but is there something? Like, my job is to find something that's affordable for you. So I'm going to show you a couple of options, John, right? That's going to help you with this situation. Please. Thank you, Joe. Then it's like, do I just fit their budget? I don't have to persuade anyone. I show them the FIF. It does the work for me, right? And as long as I pull out the emotion with emotional questions of how does that make you feel? Joe, I want to make sure she's protected. And I'm like, sweet. And he's like, I running a real proper FIF and asking a question. Like, one of my favorites was not too long, a couple of weeks ago, it was for his sister that lives with him, that she was a little handicapped, right? And he's like, I just want to make sure, Joe, she can wake up every morning and not have to worry about the house. And I'm like, I can absolutely show that, but that's going to be a little bit right on the higher side, right? We talked about that. He goes, I don't care. He goes, nothing will make me feel better, Joe, than me knowing that if I'm gone, she doesn't have to worry about anything. I'm like, okay, I will show you there. We can start and we can go from options there. It was $330 a month. He didn't even bat an eye. I didn't even show the rest of the options. I'm like, this is what you tell me you want. It's the full mortgage payoff. It's $330. He's like, yep. I'm like, this gives you exactly what you just told me, John. And he's like, yeah, that's what I want. And I ran it live. I didn't have to sell anything. It was like, yep, that's what I want. It's amazing. I take myself out of the appointment, right? Because we're the variable, right? Why we're the variables? Because we don't check all these little boxes, right? We're not asking all that, right? What's in your savings account, right? What do you have in place, right? How many of y'all have ran an appointment and you get to the options and you show everything and you're like, you know, which one do you want to do? And all of a sudden they're like, well, I have $100,000 life insurance policy, right? So I think we're okay. Right? It's because you didn't check the boxes before that, right? Like, you put yourself in that situation, because if he had $100,000 life insurance, we would have asked him, when did you get that? Why do you have that in place? And they would be like, well, it's from work, or it's because, right, when we had our baby, right, or whatever, we put that in place. Great. So you're telling me, John, I want to make sure I write this down, that was in place, right, to make sure, right, if you pass away, she has, right, at least something to live off of. Yes, great. That box is checked. Now my job, John, sweet. I'm so, I'm proud of you, John, that you're a good man. You're taking care of your wife's income if you're gone. Now let me help you check the box of mortgage protection. Yes, Joe, help me with that. Right? I've named that puppy, and he can no longer tell me the $100,000 life insurance is to pay the mortgage, because the reality is the mortgage is $200,000. Right, Cody? What is that insurance policy going to do? Not even pay the house and leave her again with what? No income. The reason he got that life insurance policy. You see, by not checking the boxes of running a proper appointment, you've allowed them, right? And this is where I put it on me, right? So I don't know how y'all want to put it on yourselves, but my job is to get them out of their own way sometimes, right? I want to do the best job I can possibly for him not to understand or let himself understand that, because that's not true, right? He's not leaving his wife in a good spot if that $100,000 policy and there's $200,000 mortgage, and he got this policy to leave her income. He's not leaving her in that spot, right? I'm going to make sure, hey, John, you got it for this because you have a daughter as well. We're going to make sure your daughter has that $100,000. We're going to help you with this problem now, right? Because we uncovered it. You don't have anything in place for mortgage protection, do you, John? No, I don't. I just bought this house. They've had that other policy for 10 years. They got it for a different reason. And Cody, you said a really good question. How did you say it? Right? Because you said, right, what has changed?
Yeah, so I used to get super afraid when I first started when they had life insurance, and someone in the chat asked the same. I guess like the best way I look at it is I've never received an email from Rolex. One, I can't afford it and I don't own one. Rob Raskin, who's in here, I guarantee he gets an email from Rolex every other day because he could afford it and he probably has 30. So same with life insurance. When they have it, you should get excited because you know they believe in the product. And then from there, I just discovered why, right? Hey, I see you have 10 years left on that. You had that 20 years ago. What was the reason behind you getting that 100,000 life insurance policy at that time? They'll give me an answer, sometimes a good one or a bad one, but I'll dig deeper and I'll say, okay, what's changed with your portfolio? Or how's your lifestyle changed in the last 20 years? Does that 100,000 even fulfill it anymore?
Dude,
And then
when
we
you
go from
post
there.
that was so good. I
Yeah,
don't even
thanks.
say that. I learned. I wrote that down. Right? Because the magic is he asked what's changed. Well, guess what? They became a mortgage protection lead because something really big changed. They just inherited a huge debt, right? A mortgage
Right.
ain't an asset, right?
Yep.
You don't leave the house, you leave a mortgage and a mortgage payment, right? That is what has changed. That's how the lead was created. There was a big shift and change in their portfolio, right? And it's just perspective. When you, again, our job is to be a really good consultant and show them that, right? So like there's so much power in that FIF reset or the FIF form, right? Especially if you use that one online, because it's showing them the numbers, right? And it's adding it up, right? Their debt, their payments, it's so cool. If you use it, it's going to help you a ton. So highly recommend you use that. And anyone else, let's go into right, some of the power questions, right? And realize the power questions can be used anywhere in the process, right? So write these down. We're going to post a bunch of them in band afterwards. But just right again, they're the hardest questions to ask too. They're so weird to ask, but that's our job. Remember, we do emotional labor, and we just ask really hard questions. The harder, the more uncomfortable for you. I promise you, that's a sign that you're asking a really good question. When I started this a long time ago, it was so difficult for me to ask another man what was in his savings account, how much money was in place, right? My dad taught me to be super respectful to another man, and I felt, right, and listen to the word, right? I got to take myself out of it, but I felt it was super disrespectful. But my job is to analyze, right? As a doctor, the doctor gets super uncomfortable, right? Sometimes he makes you undress and look at parts, and like that's his job. He wants to make sure he analyzes you properly, right? And think of this: we're doing the same thing, but financially, right? We're pulling off the covers and opening the hood, right, and looking underneath and saying, hey, this is what it really looks like. And for me, it was super uncomfortable, right? Especially to ask an older man, right? Because just the way I was brought up as respect, like you don't ask your elders these kind of questions, right? But guess what? We do. If you want to run a proper appointment, you have to, right? You have to learn to love your family enough, right? Their family, right? Enough to ask them these questions, because that's the only, realize no one has these conversations. Until I got into the insurance industry along 7 years ago, I'd never sat down with my wife and said, hey, let's look at what happens when we die. Right? Like I've never done that. I don't know if y'all have done that. If you haven't, you should. Because guess what? You can write yourself a policy. And if you don't have one, you probably need to. Right? You need to look at what's in place right now. If you're gone tomorrow, or your spouse or whatever, what do you have in place in protection? When you start doing that with yourself, it makes it a lot easier also with the family. Because now I have that conversation. I literally say that in almost every appointment too when I have the husband and wife. I'm like, hey, look, I'm going to ask you some uncomfortable questions. I've been doing this for 7 years. Before this, me and my wife had never sat down and asked ourselves these questions. So I'm going to ask you the same questions me and my wife asked ourselves. And this is why we have protection in place. And they're like, sweet. And then I get to say, hey, I'm just going to show you how I protected myself. This is what I did for me and my wife and kids, right? I get to even tell them, because now I've had those conversations with my parents and we have protection in place for my parents. And I get to say, Cody, this is what I have in place for my mom and dad. I have some equity protection for them, right? If my dad passes away, my mom's got 2 years. If she passes away, he's got 2 years. If they both pass away, me and my brother and sister, we have 4 years, right, to decide what's going to happen. And it puts me in a posture like no tomorrow, right? Like I get to say, this is how I protected them. Does this look like how you want to get protected as well? And they're like, yeah, but it's a little sweet. Let's just go a little bit lower. In fact, I started here, and then after a year or two, we increased, because that's actually what really happened. I started with small policies with my parents, right? Because I realized they didn't have anything in place. And I'm like, I'm the one that's going to get left with it, right? And I'm like, sweet, let's start here. And actually, it wasn't until, what, James, I think 2 years ago, we finally increased their policies, right? And finally, we're like, okay, sweet, we can afford more. Let's get more coverage. God forbid something happens to mom and dad, right? But I've never had those conversations, and it gets very weird. So just start, right? Again, a little high challenge, high support for yourself. The support is, these are the questions. Ask your uplines, right? These are great calls. The challenge is, can you ask these questions? So I don't know. Who wants to go first? I know a bunch of y'all got some questions that you love. Again, these are called power questions, right? So these are questions that you get to ask that bring out a ton of emotion. And again, the power is asking the question and then just being quiet.
So the first one I usually ask, and this falls in line with the FIF, right, is what do you have in place that would help your, hey, Joe, what do you have in place that would help Sandra be able to keep the home if you passed away tomorrow?
I mean, I used to work in the restaurant, but I don't anymore. So, I mean, we've talked about, I used to have one with a car insurance, so I don't have anything right now.
Okay,
That was real for me too.
What would Sandra have to do to be able to maintain the lifestyle she lives and keep the home?
I mean, just, I don't know how she'd have to go to work for sure, but we got 4 little kids, so I don't know how she'd do that. So just, there's nothing she can do, unfortunately.
How does that make you feel?
Not good as a dad or a husband.
Tell me more.
I mean, damn, Amber. I mean, that's why we're talking to you, right? I don't want to feel that anymore, right? I don't want that to be a problem.
Yeah. So that's like the chain that I kind of like to go into. The tell me more is really powerful because you're not.
Whoa, that hit me. Don't be doing that to me. Telling me more.
Because you're not asking them a specific thing, but you're helping them uncover their emotion.
That's good. Tell me more. It's one of the shortest questions, but y'all write that down. Tell me more, right? Because realize they're human. They're going to give you the layer, right? The surface answer, right? And I would even challenge you to tell me mores, right? Like get to the real, right? How does that make them feel? I mean, they got to think about it. This is a serious question, right? Man, that was good. What else you got?
Then, right, so if their answer is, oh, she'd have to sell the home or something along those lines, right? Ask the spouse, right? How do you feel about that? How do you feel about knowing that that's what you would have to do to maintain your lifestyle or keep your home? And then just keep digging in, right? Like you don't want to be mean and make them cry, but you want to uncover the emotion. And then, right, if they say they want to sell the home, okay, absolutely, I totally get that, right? How long do houses usually take to sell in your area? And then you get their answer, right? And that kind of gives you, okay, cool. If you're going equity protection, it gives you like a good time frame to show them.
And there's some power in that one, right? Because everyone's proud of their home and everyone's going to tell you, I'm going to sell my home in 3 months, in a month, in 6 months, right? Think about this. Ask them that question first, because they've answered they're going to sell their house in 2 months, or, oh, I'd put it on the market and it'd sell like that. I'm in a good place. So when you start showing them equity protection for 6 months, hey, you said 3 months and your house is gone, so, right? Because if you don't ask that question, think about this. What do they tell you? 6 months. What is 6 months going to do? Versus if you ask that question, well, you told me 4 months is all you need, or 2 months is all you need. So 6 months, 100% does exactly what you want it to do.
Mhm.
Yeah, Joe, all when they do that, it's funny. Every time it's a month or 2 months. And I'm like, that's unrealistic. You're gonna have your daughter fly to your state 2 different times just to box it up. But I'll giggle and laugh, and then I'll say that's hilarious. Everyone in your area always tells me anywhere from 2 months to a year. That's just depending on how many boxes y'all need and family traveling back and forth. So I do paint that picture, but that alley-oops me to do a 6, 9, or 12 month, or 9, 12, 18. But I agree with them. I say everyone in your area always tells me anywhere from 2 months to a year, and then we're golden. They'll buy it every time because they see the benefit in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and realize now you're not pitching equity protection. You're solving their own problem that they told you it was, right? Because they said my house will sell in 2, 3, not even 6 months. Great. A 6 month equity protection policy 100% covers what they told you was the problem, right? Now it's like, hey, I can afford a year. Great, let's get a year. Right, but they can't tell you. Have y'all ever had somebody say, "What's 4 months going to do for me? What's 2 months going to do? What's 6 months going to do?" Ask that question before. They can't tell you that anymore, right? Again, we get them out of their own way and have them see, right, how this solves their own, right, problem that they have in place, and now you're just a problem solver, right? So, and that's so good, y'all. What else we got?
I have one to piggyback off of Amber. So Amber kind of asks it like, what do you have in place right now? I just kind of piggyback off of that and change it up. If this was in place and something did happen tomorrow, how would that make you feel knowing it's guaranteed to pay out and help your family? And their response recently has always been like, I did it the other day, and the guy's response was literally, well, I don't really know when I'm going to die. It could be tomorrow. And I guess I would feel really happy about that, knowing that it would help my family. So, yeah, I guess we need this. And I was like, okay, well, there you go.
I love that. That's psychology, like future psychology, right? Like, how is it going to make you feel knowing you're gone? This is taking, right? This is in place, and man, I'm going to feel great when that happens, right? Now, guess what? If they don't listen to the psyche in this, now if they don't get the policy, they're not going to feel great. I want to feel great, right?
Right.
I need this. I need this, Brooke, so that I can feel good.
And then I'll go a little deeper and I'll say, okay, so let's imagine we never had this conversation. Like, let's imagine that I'm not even here. You never even met me. And something did happen tomorrow. Now, what do you have in place right now? We wouldn't be on the phone, would we? And they're like, yeah, you're right. And I'm like, okay, so let's go back to finding that need. And that's why I'm here today, to help you find that need. And I break it down, especially the people that want the full payoffs. That's when I really use that, because it's not the full payoff that's going to be the need. It is going to be that critical period. So that's just kind of when I hit it at the very end of the appointment.
That's there. Damn.
Hey,
See you, Brooke.
Can we hear that line again? What was the line?
I'm just gonna drop it in the chat like Cody did. I think that would be beneficial for you guys, unless y'all want to hear it.
I want to hear it.
Okay, so just going back, there's two ways I say it. The first way is, let's imagine, something did happen tomorrow. How does that make you feel knowing that this is going to guarantee payout and protect your family? And they're always like, well, I don't know when something's going to happen. Yeah, I feel really good. And then I'm like, okay, well, let's imagine we never even had this conversation. Let's imagine that me and you never even met and something did happen tomorrow. What's in place that's going to help them? And then I just kind of use Amber's psychology right there of, we need to find that need today. if something did happen tomorrow. So
Man,
and just
that,
use them to kind of talk.
Brooke,
It's very situational for each person because their response is different. Sometimes you have to give them the space to kind of, especially when you're looking at them over Zoom, give them that space to really think like, dang, what do I have? What would happen? What would that look like? No, I don't. I would be really happy. Yeah, I would be happy. I would be grateful. Yeah, if something did happen tomorrow and this was in place, yeah, I would be super grateful. Yes. Yeah. And you're like, okay.
man,
So
those are two great questions, Brooke. You make them feel good knowing that they would have it, right? And then you take it away from them, right? Letting them realize they don't have it in place, right? Like, wow, that's fire. Thank you, man. Anyone else?
Yeah, I got some here that kind of the same thing what Brooke says. I like the way she worded, so I'm probably gonna change it on mine. Um, but one of them is it kind of if something did happen, I say God forbid if something did happen tomorrow, what would that look like for your family? How long can they stay in the home? But bringing out the feeling like you did, it brought it a lot. And then, so kind of like the ones we use, and then tying it up afterwards, after the answer, hey, we can only say 3 months, 6 months, on that as well. And then I like to repeat the afterwards. So I like to let them know just so they understand it and they acknowledge what they're saying as well. So, just what I'm understanding here, you're saying if we don't put anything in place here, the protection, um, we can only say 3 months in place on the home there, so we could, the family couldn't afford it, so we will lose the house or we'll move out. So I repeat what they say, whatever they told me, and then I follow up afterwards. Then like, so we should probably put something in place then. And then they usually like, yeah, we should. So they'll say yes. So I'm getting the okay for like, yeah, we should put something in place. Or sometimes they'll be like, yeah, as long as the price is right or it's something affordable, boom. So I just know, as long as I get something with their budget, I got the okay. I'm writing an application. So I like to tie those kind of in there. But I like the way Brooke kind of just brought the more of the emotion. Because remember, we do get off emotion. So say, hey, how does that make you feel? I love that. So, I'm going to change mine, that first part on it.
That was so good.
secretly, sometimes I feel like I'm don't want to create bad juju on them. So I will say like, God forbid something did happen tomorrow, because I'm like, I do not want to put that over you guys. Just saying.
Yep. So
Cody's
true.
laughing, but that's real.
Another really good one, right, is, I mean, stories sell, right? And realize most of our clients have gone through them, right? A question that's also on a list that we're going to post on Band, but it's like, who do you know that something like this has happened to? Right? Most of us have had somebody pass away, and we've seen ugly and good, right? So it goes both ways, right? Like, one of my clients has told me like, yeah, no, my sister, right? They had a policy in place, and thank God they had it because it helped her out. She was able to do this and that. And then asking that question, they also told me the other way, right? Like, yeah, she's having to sell the house. She's struggling right now. We're doing this at church to raise money, right? And you get to use it both ways, right? So the question, right, again, is who do you know that something like this has happened to? Right. And this is after, right? If you haven't gotten green lighted, right? If you've asked some questions and they're like, yeah, I mean, I guess, okay. And if you don't like the way that sounds, then dig more, right? Like tell me more, right? But how do I do it with a question? A really good next question is, okay, hey, and just I want to ask this. I love to ask the families about this, right? To see if you even want this, right? I take it away to see if you even want this. Like, who do you know that this has happened to, something like this? And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, well, our neighbor, my sister, my dad, my uncle, when my dad passed away, right? Like that you start hearing stories, and then it's like, well, do you have some, do you want to solve that problem for your family, or how does that make you feel about your kids? And they're like, well, yeah, you know what, Joe, you're right. Right. Or, hey, you know what? I don't want that to happen to my kids. I'm like, well, let me see do you want me to see? And then I take it away, right? I'm like, do you want me to show you something that could help your kids in that situation? And they're like, yeah, show me something, right? I don't have a big budget, Joe. I'm like, hey, my job is to fit your budget, right? Like, what I need to know is, do you want me to show you this? Like, do you feel you need this? And they're like, yes. I don't want what happened to, right, Mary and her kids happen to my kids. I'm like, okay, well, I can help you with that. So that's another one of my favorite questions. If I'm not hearing what I want to hear, right, from emotion, I have them tell me a story, right? Like, hey, who do you know that something like this has happened to? And almost everyone knows somebody that something has happened to, right? So that's a great question that I use. Anyone else?
No, I just want to add the story sell, and then I like the part you said that, what did you say? You said, what you call it?
Who do
My
you
job
know?
is to fit your budget.
Oh yeah, my job is to
I
fit
like
your
that
budget,
part.
right? Because that they're usually scared to move forward because they think it's expensive, right? So I get to take that off the table by asking them, like, is this something you'd like me to show you, right? Because why am I even going to show them if they don't think this is a problem, right? My appointment will end there. I will end my appointment, right? Like, a lot of folks, why do I have a 30-minute every appointment? Because I find out, right, if I'm showing options, it's almost always just to see if it fits their budget to write the policy, right? That's how come we have very high close rates. I'm not sure why am I showing? What does it matter if it's $10 if they don't want me to show them the option, right? Like, that's how I have 30-minute appointments, right? I ran my script and that's where it ends. I don't need to show options if, hey, Cody, right? So does that sound like something you want me to show you? And then they're like, yes. Okay, sweet. Do you have an idea of which option? Because remember the option 1, 2, or 3. Sometimes they're like, yeah, I want option 2. Or, hey, yeah, you know what? I want option 1. Like, talk about customizing it for them. I'm only moving forward if they've told me to move forward, right? Because we've done everything up to that point. There is no reason to show options if they don't feel they need it, right? You're wasting another 15, 20 minutes of your time. Then you find yourself convincing, right? Like, well, John, you said, have you, because I've done this, right? Well, James, you said you didn't have anything in place. I mean, do you feel like $89 will help? Right? Like, well, this one has living benefits and this has this, right? Like, if you start negotiating pricing, if you start talking about product, if you start talking about companies, Mutual of Omaha, they're a really good company, and this, you're gone. You're selling, right? Most of my clients don't know what carrier, what kind of policy it is until we've picked an option, and I'm explaining how it's going to help them. I don't have to tell them, hey, have you ever heard of Mutual of Omaha? It's the best company out there, right? Because we did an FIF, so we've broken down their finances, we've discovered the whole. I asked an emotional question, and I asked them, does that sound like something y'all want me to show you today? And they're like, yes. Right? Sometimes they're already telling me, yes. You know what, Joe? And we looked at our finances, and Mary has some coverage already in place. How much can I get on me? They're already telling me what I got to show them so that they can go put a policy in place. Right? But again, it's by discovering questions, and I don't sell, right? I just do a really good of asking a whole bunch of questions. Financial, you got to ask FIF questions, right? Financial information form. You should not, as a real insurance agent, you should not be writing a policy if you don't know their budget. That is unfair for the client. Like, we are here for them, right? It should not be, hey, Cody, 100 grand is only $30. You want it? Like, I don't even know if he needs that, if he needs more, if he needs less, right? Again, like, you have to learn how to pivot, asking those questions, because I want to make sure we finish on time, right? Asking those questions, a lot of times, right, as a new agent, you prep, right, with your upline, and you've put together some options of what more than likely will be it, right? But if you run a really good appointment, and okay, so it is a young guy, right? Maybe he's 58. but he's single, doesn't have anyone else. His kids live in Wisconsin and he's in Arizona, right? His kids don't want his house because he's told you that, yeah, my kids thought I was crazy to move down here. Why are you showing him full mortgage payoff? That's not what he needs. He needs equity protection. His kids are going to sell the house. He told you that in his appointment. And my kids don't want it. They're just going to sell it. Now, I've talked about all the options, but I'm going to confirm I have the right option. John, you know, normally I'm a consultant. I'm like, John, normally I show a full mortgage payoff because you're young and healthy, but I just want to make sure I'm offering you the right options, right? Because you have these things in place. Sounds like your kids can't afford the mortgage payment. So we don't want them to lose the house, but we do want them to keep all the equity. Do we want to pay the full house off? Or normally it sounds like maybe equity protection, right? 6 months to 2 years, right? With the mortgage payments, and they can do what you're telling me you want them to do, which is get all the equity out of it. He's like, yeah, Joe, you know what? 9 months, a year, 6 months, that's all they need. Like, I've already talked to them about this or whatever, right? And I don't have to sell anything. I'm almost guaranteed the policy because I asked questions, I heard him, and I didn't have a plan, right? I didn't go with just what I thought was going to be best for him. I asked him what he thinks he needs for him and his family. And I had to pivot, right? Now I'm just equity. And he's like, sweet, and it's only $30. I'm like, that's all you need, right? I mean, unless for whatever reason, John, you want the $100 a month to pay off the entire house. Sometimes they say yes. Sometimes they say no. I just need that, Joe, because me and my kid already talked about it. He's going to sell it, right? He has a friend, a real estate agent, and we are just literally servicing the family, right? Again, I'm not thinking about my commission, my APV. I'm listening to the client. Well, how do I help you in your situation? You cannot help anyone in their situation if you don't know their situation, right? That is the financial information form. I think we're right on the money. Amber, James, Brooke, anything y'all want to add on there?
The chat. Nicole just dropped some heat in there. Nicole, unmute. You got to read that out loud. That's
Well, I
so
would just say relating to that, right? If you're getting that question and the question in the chat is, what do you do when someone tells you they want to shop around more? Just ask yourself if you really did like your best job of uncovering their need and asking those emotional labor questions, right? Because that's really just a think about it that they gave you. So if you're asking those emotional labor questions and you're uncovering their need, you should be able to avoid those think about it.
Right. And a great question for that too is, well, you know, John, Mary, how long have y'all been thinking about this? Then just be quiet. 6 months, a year. I mean, are you tired of thinking about it? Do you feel like we should put something in place today? Again, right? Like, your job is not, right? And I know this sounds so crazy, right? Your job is not to get the app right there, right? Every home. Your job is to uncover a need. Can you solve their problem? Can you emotionally, right, get them out of their own way and have them, right, again, agree with themselves that this is something I need in place today, and I'm tired of thinking about this, right? And Brooke, your questions were fire, right? How does it feel if you have this in place? And then how does it feel if we don't, right? We never had this conversation because guess what? That was reality the past year. So if you want to shop around, right, you're going back to that reality. Like if I had asked those questions, Brooke, like you said it, and then they told me that, like, hey, let me go shop around. I'm like, well, it sounds like we're going back to how me and you never had this conversation, and you said you didn't want to have that feeling. I just want to make sure we're clear.
It's those questions that have literally gotten me the app. That, and I'm not joking, the other role and purpose, setting them up for it.
So
and,
good.
And hitting them with those quality questions. Like, they go hand in hand, you know? So
good. Well, we're right on the money. I appreciate y'all so much. I hope y'all got a whole bunch of value. Again, right, those were a ton of questions. And the FIF, go practice on the FIF. You can go in there, open that up in HQ and play around with it. Enter all your numbers. Nothing saved. You're perfectly fine, right? You get to do all the practice you can on there. And then, right, hope you wrote down all these questions. We'll post a whole bunch on Band for you. And if you do help any family and you feel it was one of those questions or the FIF, please post it so that others can see it and we can help each other. So thanks for hopping on.